there, geeks. Adam coming at you here from Wizards HQ for a special bonus edition of our Wizards Hall series. Going solo this time around because we recently received a package here at Wizards HQ from our friends at the Dollar Bin Bandits podcast. If you don't know about the Dollar Bin Bandits, they are doing comic book creator interviews. That is their bread and butter, and they do amazing work over there. They're talking to comic book professionals from all across the spectrum, from all generations, but they do a lot of 80s and 90s, which would certainly be of interest to you geeks out there. But it's fantastic stuff, whether it's writers, editors, people who worked in the marketing department, new up-and-coming indie creators. They do a lot of awesome interviews. Well, recently they were asking for their fans to kind of spread the word and leave some reviews on their Apple Podcasts, or really anywhere that you could leave a review. And they were kind enough to extend that out to everybody and say, if you do it, we'll enter you in a drawing, and then you could win some Dollar Bin books, because they are the Dollar Bin Bandits after all. So wouldn't you know it, we happen to win because we love what they do. We left them a review, and the package came. I want to share with you what we got here. It's all sorts of stuff. So first off, here's something a little more recent from Free Comic Book Day. This is actually one that I passed up. Then we reviewed, Ultimate Spider-Man recently on our Wednesday Rewind show here on YouTube, where we're covering new comics that come out each week. We may return to it. We read it for several issues and I dropped off. I was not happy with what Hickman was doing, but maybe if you guys vote for it again, I'll get a peek at how that story has evolved. Next up here, these were neat. This is what I actually had already, but this is a reprint of the first issue of Spider-Woman that came with the Marvel Legends action figure, because I have the variant Julia Carpenter in the black costume, and so that's kind of cool. I collected that myself personally, but there's another one here, this Avengers reprint, as you see. I love on the back here it has an ad for the Spider-Man 2 action figures, which are so awesome. Here's yet another one, an X-Men reprint. And then you see here as part of the Marvel Legends series. This was just a great way. If people are going to buy cool action figures, why not get a long shot story and learn all about it, right? So very, very cool. Now, these are dollar books, and I will say as well, Oren Phillips, one of the hosts, there are three of them, Oren, Mike, and Joe, on Dollar Bin Bandits, he loves, the 80s independent wave, which is something that, I've always seen in back issue bins and 50-cent bins, but never been a fan of. Stuff like this, the New Wave from Eclipse Comics. I don't know about the New Wave. This is a very thin book, but I'm curious to dig into this and see what was being offered, because you kind of look at it like, generic superheroes, sure, but maybe there was a little tinge of something special there. Now, this guy we know all about. How about some Legends of the Dark Knight here? That is a striking cover right there. Just to give you the era, Tango and Cash on the background there on the back cover. Let me see who wrote this particular story. So this was Denny O'Neil, and a guy named Edward Hannigan was penciling this one, so that's cool. This is another blast from the past, looking at the 80s. We have the further adventures of Indiana Jones. I don't think this is... Did John Byrne do all of these? No. Okay, yeah. So this is... Carrie Gamble was doing the art along with somebody else in this one. So I think John Byrne did the first few and then he moved on. But Q*bert on the back. I have Q*bert for my NES. I don't have an Atari anymore, but I do have my original Nintendo. And my kids... They get confused by Q*bert. The controls are crazy to make him jump in that, semi, 3D space. All right, here's some more new stuff, though. So here is an issue of Uncanny X-Force. We were just reviewing the relaunch of X-Force on our Wednesday Rewind show that just came out last week. But this is interesting. This one is from 2013. So this is an era I am completely unfamiliar with. Who is the creative team on this? Sam Humphries, Ramon Perez. So, yeah, if you're a fan of that, you'll have to let me know. Here's another series. This looks like kind of a spin-off of Fables. Wolf Among Us? Yeah, so this is a series... We're going to cover this one day when it comes up in the magazine. I've never read Fables, but I remember it being promoted heavily in Wizard. They thought it was awesome. This one I do remember, and I'm super excited to get this. Yeah, one of the Mud Pack issues of Detective Comics. Now, why this might be a 50-cent bin comic is this little label right here, as you can see. So basically just telling you there's a deal that you can get this comic and get 10% off at our store. So I don't know if that was something like that it was at a con. It was like, yeah, grab a free book from our con, then come to our store and buy more and get your 10% off. Here's some more Batman here, though. So that is a pretty cool cover here. So this is, yeah, so we got a Chuck Dixon story. Oh, and the guest penciler. That's what I was going to say, because it says it's Lee Weeks doing the cover. I was like, did he draw Batman for like an extended period? I didn't remember that. This is another series. This one I'm actually excited to get because I know this is something that was coming out and again was being fairly heavily promoted in Wizard at one point. But F5, I've never heard of this, and it's the first issue right there. I don't know if this is the first issue, like was there a mini series before? Is this their first appearance? But it's promoting issue number 2 on the back. So I'm very curious because we were posting recently on our social media. We do our Sunday surveys on X every Sunday. And I was saying, like, what's your favorite comic book with a number in the title? So there was like Sovereign 7 and Gen 13. And somebody said F5. It should have been F5, should have been on the list. I was like, okay, well, now I'll dig into that more. This is one we've been talking about Wizard recently, Curse of the Spawn. So this was coming out when Mortal Kombat Annihilation was in theaters. Unfortunate film. Here's the Max comics. We haven't gotten, we're in Marvel Knights territory in 1999 right now. We have not gotten to the Max era, but some Absolute Power here. Supreme Power, my bad. Absolute Power, I think, is that what's going on in DC Comics right now? Something like that. But yeah, so Supreme Power, Straczynski joint with Gary Frank. That's going to be awesome. All right, this is another one. I didn't know this imprint existed. I didn't know this comic existed. And then probably like 3 or 4 months back, there was an ad in the issue of Wizard we were covering for More Than Mortal from Liar Comics. So I was unaware of this. I know they were like distributed through Image for a while. But yeah, some pretty epic artwork there. But there's a bunch of this More Than Mortal stuff going on. So I know that fantasy was becoming really popular, these fantasy comics in the late 90s and the early 2000s. So I'm very curious to see what it's about. But as you can see, a ton of More Than Mortal. So I'm going to know this universe. Yeah, because see, this is now Image. They're not Liar Comics anymore. So we got some Top Cow stuff going on there. I have no idea what this is about. Anybody else see this one? George Alec Effinger's Neil and Buzz in Space and Time. That's a long title. There's a lot going on here. What year is this even from? Will it tell me? Oh yeah, so this is 1989. This is being put out by Fantagraphics. Looks to be a fully black and white comic, so kind of the tail end of that explosion. Komiko or Comico? I always say Comico, but I've heard people say Komiko. But Elementals. This is another book that I always see, and like the art, I know they had like an artist who was on it for quite a while. It always feels like a junior high kid got to do a comic. I'm not trying to throw shade here, but it just never quite had the production values for me. But I will be curious to read about that universe here. How about this? Stephen Grant. Just one of my favorite writers of the 80s and 90s. But here he is doing a Dark Horse book called Enemy. There we go. The Mask, talking about the movie adaptation on the back. But I am curious about that. Yeah, Stephen Grant, see what he's doing there. How about this one here? Killing Girl? Huh? So this is an interesting Image book. Killing Girl doesn't even have an ad on the back. It's just going to advertise for itself. Glenn Brunswick and Frank Espinosa. But yeah, like that's not just cover artwork. That's the full art style for the series. So fascinating. Look at this one from Dynamite. Cage Hero? I don't know. This looks like it was like a tie-in to a video game. Is this a video game? Does somebody know? I guess I could look in here and see if it... Yeah, it doesn't seem to reference. It says it's just from Dynamite Entertainment. So, but that's actually some pretty cool art here. And who's our creative team? Oh, so created by Kevin Eastman, Ian Parker, Mark Mastrandria, and story by Parker Eastman. So yeah, so they definitely, that's a good pedigree. Maybe Kevin Eastman was looking for something he could market and turn into a video game. This is cool, though. A DC Deadman book. I've never read a Deadman comic from this era here. And if just what is this? A sci-fi series called Happy? I don't remember this at all. What year was this? Let's check it out. Oh, this is a Neil Adams book. What? I didn't even, wow. Neil Adams? That's interesting. Yeah, huh. Oh, here's some more image here, though. Cyberpunks. Yeah, look at that. But more important, look what's on the back here. This advertisement, Extreme Studios. We got Captain America from the Heroes Reborn era. You could meet the Glory model. Is this an event? Like, what is this? Yeah, the Pittsburgh Comic-Con. So, wow. That's a piece of history right there. That's awesome. So this is what, 96, 97? Yeah, 96. So, cool. This is what, if Mike were here, he'd be very excited. Hellhound? Look at this horror book from, wow. I mean, this is Epic Comics. I think is Epic's Marvel, right? So, but this is some, yeah, some pretty dark stuff in there. Who's our creative team on this one? The Redemption Quest. John Miller and Floyd Hughes is the artist. But yeah, spooky. Check out this one here. So this is another Epic Comics release, The Heavy Hitters Feud. I don't know what Feud is about, but it's Mike Barrett and Mark Nelson are the creative team on this one. Of course, I have to say, what's exciting me most on the back is Spider-Man 2099. Now, you tell me I'm not excited about that. Even if I don't like this comic, I'm going to keep that cover and frame it. It's a beautiful thing. But even on the inside, the Darkman series that was coming out, that's cool. We've talked about that way back when. But yeah, that whole Heavy Hitters, they were really trying to create something. Last one here, this is before my era, but I always hear people talk about this book and how influential the art was and everything like that. And this crossover in particular, I've been able to find like the second issue and the first issue a lot, but I never found the third issue of the X-Men and Micronauts miniseries. So that's really cool to finally get this and be able to continue with the story. Yeah, just to set the era here, Atari Frogger, yeah. So thank you so much, Dollar Bin Bandits, for this haul. This is stuff I'm actually going to read. I'm actually interested in. They know how to find the interesting books that are hiding in those cheap bins. But again, go find Dollar Bin Bandits on social media. Find them on YouTube. We love what they do. They're friends. They've been on the podcast. They will be back again. But hey, until next time, keep your books bagged and boarded.